Wolf Theiss Soundshot. Insights and analysis from one of the leading law firms in Central, Eastern, and Southeastern Europe.
Welcome to a new episode of the Wolf Theiss Soundshot Diversity Edition. In this episode, Andrea Gritsch, member of our management team and a partner for banking and finance, and Barbara Stimpfl-Abele, Chief Human Resources Officer, both of whom have children while maintaining central leadership roles in a competitive international legal environment, talk about female empowerment in the legal industry. Recognizing diversity as an important value at Wolf Theiss, the firm has been awarded several awards by the European Women in Business Law Awards, including the Best Gender Diversity Initiative by a national law firm and the Best National Firm Mentorship Program, both in 2020. Prior to recording this episode, we asked Wolf Theiss team members across all of our offices and followers of our social media channels to submit their questions about female empowerment and the Wolf Theiss approach to it. So thank you to those who submitted questions, and here are Andrea and Barbara to address them for you.
Hi everyone! Before we start, I hope Andrea, you and all our listeners had a great World Women's Day. I think it's a perfect timing for today's episode, right?
Many thanks, Barbara. I'm very excited about this episode, and a big thank you goes to everyone who submitted their questions.
So, before we jump right into it, I have a personal question for you. We've both spent almost 15 years working at Wolf Theiss. And after all this time, would you say that we are a diverse law firm?
Definitely. I mean, look where we are. Our local presence spans 13 countries in Central, Eastern, and Southeastern Europe. We include 25 nationalities. We have 30 languages, many different social and ethnic backgrounds, and countless mindsets. I would say that diversity is imprinted within our firm's DNA.
Yeah, but what about gender diversity? You're standing in front of me as a member of the management board, as a mother of two, working part-time, and I think that alone is already a great testimonial for us as a firm.
Times are changing very clearly. Having a family and at the same time successfully pursuing a career are no longer opposites. Let me have a look at the data. We now reached a point where 50% of our legal staff is female. We have 45% female associates starting out in the legal profession, and women make up 55% of our senior lawyers. This actually means that more women than men progress in their legal career at Wolf Theiss. What is more is that we offer equal opportunities also within our business professional functions. While the heads of our financial and information technology departments are both male, the heads of our marketing and business development department, as well as human resources, are female. Likewise, 60% of our team leaders in all departments are female.
So would you say that this picture is the same in all of our 13 countries?
No, it is not. Due to historic reasons and also different cultural and social forces, we see a much higher female-to-male ratio in Central and Eastern Europe. We have the highest number of female partners and senior lawyers in our Romanian and Bulgarian offices. In these countries, we have twice as many female lawyers, followed by our Slovenian and Czech offices.
And this also matches the European Union gender equality statistics, where Romania, Bulgaria and Slovenia are at the very top in terms of gender diversity.
Impressive, yes. As a firm, in general, I believe we have come a long way. Barbara, which initiatives did you drive in the past within the Human Resources Department that helped women in their career and brought our female talent to the top?
Yeah, looking back, a series of programs, policies and trainings such as our mentoring or our Step Up Equal Opportunities program come to my mind. Efforts to enable female talent back more than 20 years. For me, one of the major milestones of the firm was the implementation of the Wolf Theiss maternity policies in the early 2000s.
These were different times, very clearly.
Yeah, right. In retrospect, it seems that we had very, very bold ladies and forward-looking decision makers who implemented the maternity policy for admitted female attorneys.
I bet at that time this was unheard of in the Austrian legal market.
Yeah, and also today, there might be ad hoc arrangements for female lawyers in some law firms. But having a defined policy with specific maternity rights for female lawyers, this is still not the norm. Let me say a few words to the Wolf Theiss maternity policy. The policy forms part of our female lawyers engagement agreement, with the right to take maternity leave, the right to reduce workload, and the right to come back on a part-time basis. So although initially the maternity policy might have been met with skepticism by some, experience has long shown its benefits. Female lawyers making use of the maternity policy, they are able to continue and advance in their career.
Before doing this podcast, we dug into our system and realized that over time, more than 80 female lawyers have actually taken maternity leave or used the opportunity to work part-time. I believe this is an impressive figure. What is more is that we also offer such flexibility to women that advance to partnership. Take my situation, for example. I was made a partner when I came back from maternity leave for my first child, and I was promoted into the firm's management while pregnant with my second child. Having the flexibility to accommodate my personal situation and at the same time remain on the career track was invaluable to me. But don't get me wrong, it was a hard time and there were many difficult situations. Nursing a baby on the one hand, and at the same time being on conference calls advising on complex legal issues on the other, is a challenge. But what remains is the fact that I had children, and that did not mean that I had to make a sidestep to a slower career track. I was treated the same way as before, with the same opportunities as everyone else. And I think this is what truly makes all the difference to break the glass ceiling. Another question for you, Barbara. The European Equal Pay Day is a symbolic day set by the European Commission to raise awareness that female workers in Europe still earn on average almost 15% less than their male colleagues. What is Wolf Theiss doing to eliminate the pay gap?
Yeah, we are very much aware of pay gap issues and committed to equal pay for equal work. We have standard remuneration policies treating men and women alike since a very long time. So from an organizational point of view, I can confirm that we fairly pay men and women across the entire firm. But I think the issue lies elsewhere. In practice, we fear that women suffer indirect disadvantages. What we observe is, for example, that women often are less bold, less demanding, and they do not market their skills well enough. And all of this might result in a woman ending up in a pay grade lower than their male colleagues. And what we also observe is that men often apply for job positions that women, despite having the same qualifications, would not aspire, since they believe they may not be sufficiently qualified or might not have earned it. Men often don't have such hesitations, with the result that they secure jobs in a higher salary class.
Do you think that the pandemic will have an impact on equal payment or otherwise affect women and men differently?
A very good question. The impact of the pandemic on the way we work is manifold. Working from home and flexible work arrangements became the norm and will, to a certain extent, stay also in post-COVID world.
Yeah, but in the legal industry, remote working and flexible working hours are anyway expected, as lawyers have to be available when their clients need them.
Yeah, but what is new is the wide acceptance that lawyers as well as business professionals, they themselves decide when and where to work. And this factor might especially benefit women in a family situation. However, there is a distinct downside too. What has happened to many women in the last year is that they have fallen back into traditional roles. Classic domestic work like preparing meals, homeschooling and doing housework kept many women busy and forced them to do their paid work late in the evenings. And on the other hand, home office also kept men at home. And I hope that many of them now have a better understanding of what it means to run a household and manage a family. My husband certainly does.
I might see another, more indirect pandemic effect also on women when it comes to promotions. I read a study about a travel company that tested working from home nearly a decade ago. The study showed that people at home were promoted about half the rate of those in the office. The reason was quite natural. People at home were less visible, while the office workers developed more promotional capital by simply making others see what they do well and lobbying personally with their bosses. Also, more recent research shows that if people are allowed to choose how many days they work from home, some groups, such as women with young children, for instance, will almost certainly end up doing more work from home than others. 3 years later, the promotion rates will be dramatically lower than for single, ambitious men coming to the office 5 days a week. From an organizational point of view, this pitfall needs to be closely monitored.
Yeah, having talked now a bit about the HR perspective, would you say from your management point of view that diverse teams, and especially gender diverse teams, are more successful?
Sure, I believe we all know from numerous research that diverse teams make better teams and more successful teams. Looking at our firm, in 2015, we undertook together with Heidi Gardner from Harvard Law School a collaboration study, in particular of the business consequences of collaboration within Wolf Theiss. One learning of this study, amongst others, was that there is a strong correlation between high revenue generating clients and diverse teams. Profitability of a matter was directly impacted by the composition of our legal teams. This clearly proves the business merits of diversity. Diversity is far more than window dressing. It is an important success factor.
Do we as a law firm perceive pressure from the market and our clients to staff our teams also gender diverse?
Yes, increasingly so. Especially international clients, first and foremost US headquartered firms, but more and more stock-listed corporations around the world expect from their business partners diverse staffing. Such clients have typically committed themselves to equality and require us lawyers to do the same. This includes not only reporting to them on our diversity efforts, but also staffing our legal teams according to equality principles.
Do you expect diversity to become a standard selection criterion for clients when choosing a law firm?
Many factors point towards this direction. Take as an example the current discussion in Germany about new legislation on female quota in the boardroom. Also in the context of the ongoing ESG discussion, gender diversity is a major discussion point. And last but not least, general awareness in the business world has massively increased. It is no longer acceptable to have only men on the podium at business conferences. The internet community strongly reacts to male-dominated posts, and in a very outspoken manner demands that women get the same level of recognition.
Yeah, I fully agree. We see a lot of movement in public opinion, which in part is due to an ongoing demographic change. Among baby boomers, more men than women in the past graduated from university. But the opposite is true for today's millennials. Millennials are redefining the work-life balance. More millennial women have career aspirations, they have a partner willing to share the work at home, and there is money for childcare.
Are there any specific initiatives our HR drives to encourage female millennials to go for a career in a big law firm?
What we are doing is proactively addressing typical concerns and trying to eliminate unfounded prejudices. We have to make women aware of their development opportunities and assure them that they can actually have it all, if they want. Moving up a career ladder, marrying and having kids are choices open to women. But to be clear, you have to invest a lot of time and energy to advance your career. What we as a firm are trying to is to create a good breeding ground for equal opportunities. A young lawyer told me a few months ago that she never dared to bring up the topic of motherhood, as she feared negative consequences in the work environment. And after having been with Wolf Theiss for a while, she realized that we foster a different culture. Addressing her private aspirations was necessary to align them with her professional development goals. And wanting to become a parent one day is part of life, also in a law firm, and yes, also for men.
Fact is that in many law firms there is a significant underrepresentation of women on senior partnership and management level, despite qualified female candidates. What do we do to tackle this problem?
Yeah, this is true. Senior positions are often dominated by men. And then when it comes to promotions, decision makers lean to like-minded people. In a perfect world, we would have bias-free decisions. But it's so hard to eliminate bias as it affects everyone, regardless of being aware and having good intentions.
And how do we tackle this issue?
Yeah, how do we tackle this? By having processes that make it easier for our biased minds to get things right. Everybody knows the story how orchestras began using blind auditions and how much this influenced the percentage of women. Breaking the link between our gut reactions and our actions is crucial. This starts in the recruitment process, continues in our talent management efforts, and finds its way into the promotion process. It is also a matter of forward-looking succession planning. Qualified women do not fall out of the sky in the moment you need them. Also, we need to actively build the line of succession. And this is indeed a challenge.
Do you feel there is a double standard for leadership qualities, for behavior that is considered perfectly acceptable for men but bossy for women?
That's a very tough question.
I know the answer, but go ahead.
Yeah. Women are often seen as bossy, pushy, and worst of all, emotional, whereas men showing similar behavior are considered strong leaders, getting things done. And this is a phenomenon we see, for example, within our own evaluation process. Typical male character traits that mark men as qualified leaders are perceived in a far more critical way when applied by women. Imagine you're a hardworking female professional and then receiving feedback driven by your gender. This is simply frustrating. So there is a long way to go.
True, especially since in the markets and industries where we operate, tradition is high. The majority of clients is male, the work environment often male-dominated, and successful women, as we have heard, are very rare. For me, the main challenge for women in business, and especially for women in the legal profession, is to remain true to oneself and finding a way to leverage female strengths within the currently still male-dominated environment.
Yeah, but is there any way to accelerate change and move to gender diversity within the legal industry more quickly?
Excellent question. The legal industry will change once society changes. So it's the chicken-egg problem all over again. If we do not want to wait that long, we have to remain active. There are numerous measures coming to mind. A quick fix might be a female quota to close the gap. Whether law firms in our region will eventually apply this tool remains to be seen.
Now looking at the list of our questions, I think we've covered a lot and hopefully didn't miss anything. Andrea, I have now a final question for you. Is there anything you would do differently?
Maybe stay truer to myself, even when it means not fulfilling everyone's expectations all the time. And what about you? What advice would you give to young women out there?
Yeah, I would think of 3 things. First, find a role model that motivates you. Second, always try to be financially independent. And last but not least, have fun in what you do.
Thanks, Barbara.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Wolf Theiss Soundshot. For more information, you can contact us via email at soundshot@wolftheiss.com or visit our website at www.wolftheiss.com. You can also follow us here to receive further updates on developments in law and business from one of the leading law firms in Central, Eastern, and Southeastern Europe.